Hi everyone, it's Wednesday, January 28th, and this is the Wednesdays with Liz video. We got a couple reminders right at the top. Both the Consistency Challenge and the Genre Challenge are ending soon because we're coming up to the end of the month. The Genre Challenge for this month is crime fiction, such as detective stories, court dramas. Basically, if you've watched Law & Order, you know what crime drama is. At least that's how I've been thinking about it. And then we have Keeping Warm in February, which starts Sunday, because that's the 1st of February, and it feels like this month has flown by. Okay, so that's all the reminders. We started on Sunday with Elizabeth asking us answering some writing questions that she got from a friend. Carrie continued that and added on a new question. And then I'll add on a new question at the end. So we'll just roll into that. The first question is, what writing advice would you give to a new writer? And I have stereotypical new advice for a new writer. Just sit your butt in the chair and write. I mean, it's stereotypical. It's what's worked for me. It's what's worked for other writers. It's just basically to sit down and write. It doesn't matter what you write as long as you try to stick to that schedule of just sitting down and writing every day. And you don't have to like do abstract goals like I must finish this chapter before I get up out of this chair. That might not work for you. It might if you're 500 words away from the end of your chapter, but it might not work for an everyday type scenario. And you want something basic and everyday before you start going into the abstract, I must finish this chapter. I recommend basically setting yourself either a time or a word goal and trying not to take on too much at once. Like I would do a maximum of 30 minutes or 500 words, whichever works better for you. And then just every day at that same time, sit your butt in the chair, write for those 30 minutes, write out those 500 words, and see where you are. Now, it might not be a productive 500 words to you. You might think, well, I didn't get this chapter 500 words more in, or I didn't, advance my project, but that's okay. Sometimes the best use of your time is just to go through the motions. Because while you may not have written the next point in your chapter, which is what you had planned to do, you might have written gibberish and figured out why you have a block, basically, and why you didn't write out that chapter. So that's what I recommend. My best editing tip is to go along with basically what Carrie said and then what Aaron said in a comment is to print it out, read it out loud, and make marks on it. And I actually have an example. This, I'm not sure how well, is Chapter 2, A Mystery of the Dark. Basically, I printed it out. I have, eons of writing notes on, basically the first page, and that's how it goes, throughout, although I'm not sure if there's anything on this page except for words. But basically, and this is, 10 pages, 4 trees. But basically, just print it out, or if you work better on a computer, I don't, some other people do with editing, but basically read it, make sure it sounds good, add things, subtract things, but basically make sure you're reading it, make sure, it sounds good, at least to you. Okay, and then, the best place to get ideas is Carrie's question. And this is going to sound a little silly and also stereotypical, but my best place for ideas is when I'm doing things that are just normal everyday tasks. I mostly get most of my inspiration from when I'm standing in the shower washing my hair. It's how I figured out my block that I was having in A Mystery of Dark chapter. It's how I figured out similar plot points, doing the dishes, taking a shower, that type of stuff. So basically, everyday task, I'm just doing something I'm folding laundry, and all of a sudden I'm oh, I know what to do next, or oh, I have an idea for a story. So So basically, yeah, everyday task is where my best place to get ideas. And then my question is kind of two-pronged, and it goes into the idea of creativity is, do you have any recurring dreams or nightmares? And have you ever based a project on those dreams or nightmares? And yes, basically, I have. Um, Power of the Scions basically came from a reoccurring dream that I was having. And so that's a project that I'm going to be working on. I have a reoccurring nightmare that I'm thinking about making into a project that I don't know anything about, which is basically um, there's something evil and fire-based attacking, and I'm the only person left alive in a burning tower. It's like horror type thing, horror saving the world type thing. So yeah, I mean, that's another place to get your creativity. If you remember your dreams, maybe start keeping a dream journal and then making those dreams and nightmares into stories that you actually want to write. And I am horribly over time today. I apologize. I um, I don't know if I'm going to reshoot because I basically got everything out. So again, I apologize for going over. I hope you have a great Wednesday, and I hope that helped. So see you next week.